Bellator I'll always hold it dear to my heart. They gave me the first shot, and they gave me kind of this promotion and this stepping stone to where I can really plateau myself into the scene of MMA. I've become a big name because of them.
Christopher De Santiago of MMA Islander. Today we're talking to Chicago's own Bellator contender, the Italian gangster himself, Danny Sabatello. Danny, how's it going today?
I'm going great, bro. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Good to catch up with you as always. There's some big news since you last fought. PFL's buying Bellator. What was your first initial reaction to the news?
Yeah, I was pretty psyched up. I think now that you can have a super promotion, I think that's good for everybody. I think across all promotions, that's good for all the fighters, all the fans, everybody in charge. Anytime we level up this sport, I think that's going to be good. Fighting has become so mainstream. I wouldn't quite put us at the level of football and baseball and basketball yet. But we are coming hard, and we're fastly gaining a large audience. And I think this is how you even broaden the audience even more. You make a big announcement like this where PFL has acquired Bellator, and it's just insane fighters now on that roster. It's going to be great. And again, the most important thing is it's great for everybody. It's great for people in the UFC and One and Ryzen and Bellator and PFL. I think this was a great decision. I think it's going to change the landscape of MMA. And what better thing to do than do the champs versus champs and PFL versus Bellator? I don't think anything like that has really ever happened in this sport. So we're groundbreaking new history within the sport, and that's what it takes to just keep on building.
I believe the rumors of PFL buying Bellator first popped up in April, I believe. When did that kind of first pop up on your radar?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I kind of heard rumblings. Seems like a long time ago. But with the rumblings, you just never know. Everybody always wants to have the inside scoop, and everybody wants to always act like they're the know-it-all and has it all figured out and knows exactly what's going to happen. But the fact of the matter is, especially in MMA, nobody really ever knows. So I didn't really think about it too much. I didn't really know until that there was a final announcement, and that's kind of how you have to live your life in this game. Until something is final, I wouldn't put too much stock into it just because you never know. I was pumped about it. You never know how this is going to go. Obviously, this can be a good thing. This could be a bad thing. But I'm one that's very positive about this. Of course, I see a lot of negativity online, but, online is always going to have a lot of negativity. I think this is going to be very good. Ever since they made the announcement, I was trying not to think about it, obviously, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, if we can have two major promotions like the UFC and PFL, then I mean, how do we not grow this sport even more? I think even more and more people are becoming aware that some of the best fighters in the world aren't in the UFC, they're in the PFL and Bellator. And I think as time goes on and the sport develops even more, it's not going to really matter the promotion too much. You look at boxing and you don't really understand that all these top boxers are in different promotions, and no one ever really looks at boxing and says, the WBC champ isn't the best because he's in a different organization. I think soon, not really in the near future, but pretty soon, we're going to see that in MMA, it doesn't really matter too much of the promotion. If you understand the sport and aren't a casual and you can see the skill, you'll see that it doesn't really matter with the promotion. I think the fighters have already figured that out. One thing in fighting is we're at the same gym with these guys. At my gym, at the best gym in the world down in South Florida, American Top Team, we have Bellator champs, UFC champs, Ryzen champs, One champs, PFL champs. And we see, the best guys in the gym are across different promotions. Johnny Eblen is the best middleweight in the planet, period. We all know that. All the fighters know that. But soon the good thing is the fans seem like they're understanding the sport more, and they're understanding that the promotion isn't as important. You don't want to become this marketing whore where, oh, okay, just because that they have the best promos, they're the best organizations. No, fuck that. Understand the skill, understand the sport, and you'll understand that these guys are elite level across the board.
Mm-hmm. And it's a new era for Bellator. But before we go more into the future, I do want to look at the past. You fought for them for 7 times. What was the most memorable moment that you had fighting under the Bellator banner?
Yeah, I got a lot of memorable moments. Bellator I'll always hold it dear to my heart. They gave me the first shot, and they gave me kind of this promotion and this stepping stone to where I can really plateau myself into the scene of MMA. I've become a big name because of them. If I were to pick out one moment, I still think it would be the short notice fight, my very first fight in the promotion of Bellator. And I fought Brett Johns, who was top 10 in the UFC at the time before he came over. And I just really remember thinking, I have one shot. I wasn't supposed to win. I think on Typology, I had like a 1% chance of winning. Nobody knew who I was. I was on the regional promotion and I had to make weight in 5 days. So nobody really gave me a shot. I understood that this is my one shot really to shock the world. And you don't really get too many of those shots. Once you become on the stage and people know who you are, nothing really surprises them too much. So that was my opportunity to really come out of nowhere and shock everybody and put my skills to the test. And I'll always remember that night. It was such a big win. It was the first time being on a big promotion and a big stage like Bellator. And I showed up and I showed out. I'll always remember that. I don't think I'll ever have that kind of opportunity again where everybody will write me off and not know who I am and doubt me. So I'm proud of myself for that. And I have a bunch of other wins and moments inside of Bellator that I'm very proud of and I'm happy and I try to reminisce about. But if I were to pick one, it would be my very first fight in the promotion years ago.
Awesome, man. And you said "Shock This World." That's your username on Twitter, Instagram. Is that where the username came from? From shocking the world against Brett Johns?
Yeah, I pretty much had that motto my entire life. Even in high school, for state, I made a shirt that said "Shock the World" because I was going up against the national champion, and no one really thought that I was going to win. And I did win, of course. I won state not once but twice in the best state of Illinois. And so I kind of like kept that motto. I usually am the underdog. It wasn't until lately people kind of understood my skills and how much superior they are to my opponents. But I still like being the underdog. I like being wrote off. I like being booed. I like people saying that I can't do something because I think that's where I get most of my motivation from. So I'll always have the handle "Shock This World," shock the world, because I like just putting it in people's faces. My favorite thing is flicking off the world. I don't like it when I have people behind me, because most of the world is a bunch of pussies. I don't want those pussies behind me. I want to be able to flick off all these people because they're soft and they say that I can't do something. So I love shocking the world, and I'm going to continue to do that throughout my whole career.
How do you look back on your 2023?
I think I underachieved. I think it was a disappointing year for me. I'm not too disappointed about it. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to be sour about it. I do think I won some fights in there that the judges didn't see that I won. So obviously there's some accountability there on my end, but also some unlucky and bitterness there. Obviously the fight with Raufeon Stots, my last fight, I lost in the eyes of the judges. I still think I won. But when I look at the film, obviously I still think I won, but there's also areas that I should have done some things. I could have listened to my coaches more. There's always more things that you could have done. Even if you have a perfect fight, there's always more that you could have done. You could have worked in a certain area better. So watching back on the film, just because now I haven't really had a fight announced or anything yet to get ready of, I'm watching a lot of film on my fights, and I just see some things that I can improve on. Obviously, I'm my biggest critic, but I'm also my best friend. That's just how it has to be. I don't beat myself up too much, but I also get jacked and excited to know, man, I'm just scratching the surface right now. I'm going to get so much better just because I see the weaknesses in my game. And once I clean that shit up, I'll be unstoppable. I view myself as almost already unstoppable. I don't really think that there's a guy out there that can beat me right now. But I'm very excited for the future. So the 2023, it was a good year. I wouldn't say a great year. It was another stepping stone. I'm not at my peak yet. I'm 30 years old. I'm still getting better. And it just makes me more excited for 2024 because it's going to be bigger and better.
Mm-hmm. And you drew out some names on Twitter. For the people that didn't see, what are some names that you would like to fight in this next year? And and how are you itching to get back in the cage?
Yeah, I'm always itching to get back in the cage. I would fight tonight. I'm one of these guys that wants to fight 17 times a year. A lot of people don't really want to fight too often. I am not like that. I am always asking for a fight. I don't pull out of fights. I don't miss weight. My fights always go through. I'm never injured. So I'm always looking to fight first and foremost. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much who the opponent is. Just as long as I can get there and fight, I can stay sane in my own life. But of course, a guy like Jalen Bates, that little bitch out there, I'd like to fight him. You know, that's a fight that would make sense to me. Also, another fight is Sergio Pettis' bitch ass. You know, I'd like to fight him. That also makes sense. James Gallagher, I've been calling out for years and years. I think he knows I would absolutely beat the shit out of him. So I don't know if he's ever going to accept the fight. I'm always going to call him out, though, just because he's a little bitch and I don't like him. But, you know, I'll call out the entire promotion. You know, I don't really give a shit as long as I get a fight. That's cool. Obviously, there's some guys that it's just personal against. And this is all stepping stone up to be the champion of the world. And that's all I really care about is becoming the PFL champion and the best fighter in the absolute fucking world. And right now, Patchy Mix has the belt. I think the fight with Patchy is going to happen. Hopefully in 2024. I see it at the end of 2024. You know, you look at Patchy Mix's resume, and he's beaten pretty much every top level guy except for one guy, and that's fucking me. You know, he's already beaten Archuleta, he's beaten Stots, he's beaten Pettis, he's beaten Magomed, he's beaten all these guys, but I've never fought Patchy, and I think I starch him. So that's going to be a very fun mega fight, you know, because obviously the entire world recognizes how good Patchy is and his skill set, and they know how good I am. And if I beat him, I'm going to be looked at as the best bantamweight in the world, as I should be. So there's a lot of fights on the horizon. All I need to do is just get the call from the boss from PFL to say who I'm fighting, and I'll show up, and I'm going to make it a massive fight because that's how my fights are. They're always massive. You know, Danny Sabatello fights are always very fucking different, and they'll continue to be different, and they'll be bigger and better in 2024. You know, now I have a bigger promotion with PFL and Bellator. I have a lot of fans backing me now and a lot of fans that fucking hate me. So there's going to be even more eyeballs in 2024, and it's going to be very exciting. But for an opponent perspective, you know, I would love to fight Jalen Bates. I don't know if he will because I do know he's soft and a little bitch. So if he's not, then again, I would want Sergio Pettis. But at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck. I'll fight them all, and I'll fight 2-on-1.
I know that you would have been fun to see at the press conference. Were you kind of disappointed that you weren't able to make that turnaround for this Bellator versus PFL event? And when would you like to get back in the cage?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was fighting on that event. You know, I think that's going to be one of the biggest events ever, especially in a place like Saudi Arabia, where it's fastly becoming the fight capital of the world. I wish I was on that card. You know, unfortunately, I'm not a champion, so I'm not on that card, but I was hoping maybe an undercard fight or something like that. At the end of the day, we're a month out right now, and it's not too late. I'll still jump on that card. I don't care if it's 1 day notice or a year notice. I'm down to fight. But it's awesome just seeing the guys at American Top Team get ready for the fight. My boy Johnny Eblin has a big fight against Impa. You got Maheta fighting Yoel Romero. And then we got Ferreira, who's fighting the legend of Ryan Bader also. So it's just awesome to see these guys on that card getting ready for that. I was thinking about going to the press conference just to be in the stands. But I think I would have got a little too jacked up and caused a little bit of anarchy. You know, I don't know if this PFL company knows exactly who I am. I don't really want to piss them off too much. So I decided at the last second, maybe it's not a good idea, because I know if I went there and I saw any other bantamweights, I'd try to bash their fucking face in. You know, I don't know if they're ready for that yet. I know when I show up to places, it just causes anarchy. So I wanted them to focus on the big ass fight card in Saudi Arabia in February, which is absolutely massive. But, you know, I was itching to go to that press conference, cause a little scene, cause a little havoc, and have a little fun. In terms of when I would like to get back into the cage, I'd like to get back in ASAP. You know, PFL doesn't have a Bellator card fight announced yet, but I'm hoping to be on that first one. I'm hearing that they're going to have a Bellator card fight once a month, every month. And again, and I'm ready to go once a month, every month. You know, I will fight 12 times a year. That's in my DNA. That's in my resume, hopefully this year. So all they got to do is make the call, and I'm ready to go. You know, I'm ready to go on this Saudi Arabia massive card, and I'm ready to go in March.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And I was going to ask you about that actually. I believe they're having 8 Bellator events each year. I could be wrong. I know you like to fight 3 to 4 times each year. So how does this new format, how does this new merger affect your activity?
Yeah, everything's positive in the outlook of my eyes. You know, everything's a good situation. You know, all you really have to do is fucking win and be exciting. And that's what I do, is I win and I'm exciting. So I'm not really too concerned about only fighting once a year. You know, if I was the PFL, I put myself in their shoes and they would want me to fight. You know, all I got to do is just keep being me and keep winning. And the good thing about my fight style is I don't really get hurt. You know, I don't take punishment. And even if I do get hurt, I'm not really hurt enough not to fight. You know, I never pull out of fights and I never say no to fights. That's one thing about me is I don't pull out of fights. I don't say no. I don't miss weight. I don't take steroids. I'm an absolutely professional MMA fighter. That's what I bring to the table, and I'm always exciting and I always win. So in my eyes, I'm the best employee MMA has. You know, when you look at PFL and you think about them, of course, they're going to want a guy like Danny Sabatello, the Italian gangster, to fight as often as possible. So even if they did have 8 fight events a year, I think I could easily be on all 8 fight events. You know, why not? I'm game. All I got to do is keep being exciting, keep winning, keep bashing these fucking guys' face in, and the rest will take care of itself. You know, I still think a minimum I'll get 3 in this year. I know we're already at the end of January and I don't have a fight, but that's okay. No sweat off my back. I can fight and then be ready again the next month. You know, it really is no sweat. Of course, I would want a zillion fight cards because you want a zillion opportunities to fight. But if that's not how it is this year, that's okay. Everything's going to work itself out. All you got to do is keep on fucking winning.
Awesome. And PFL's founder Don Davis said that they're gonna bring the bantamweight division maybe in 2025. You know, with that $1 million once again being on the line at Bellator, is that kind of like an opportunity to see like, hey, I didn't win the Grand Prix, but I could get redemption over in PFL?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I do have a redemption story in me. That is going to be amazing. That's going to be awesome. You know, I look back to my Grand Prix and losing in the semifinals in a close split decision that I think I won. It's going to be a movie book story ending at the end of the day. You know, I'm actually thankful that I lost that just because it's going to be even sicker when I do win the Grand Prix in 2025. You know, when PFL does eventually bring in the best weight division across the world, which is bantamweight, which is the most exciting, which is the most skillful weight class, it's going to be amazing. And I'm very much looking forward to that. I don't really give a fuck about the $1 million. I don't really care about money too much. I've never been a money guy. I've been a title, a champion guy. And that's what I'm looking forward to. You know, whether they bring in a tournament, a Grand Prix tournament for $1 million, or they just have a normal winner, it doesn't matter as long as I get that fucking belt and I get it soon. You know, obviously everybody knows that the PFL is going to bring in the bantamweight division just because it's so fucking exciting. Everybody wants to see it. I don't know when. I don't know if it's 2025 or 2035, but eventually I will get that fucking belt.
Is the number of F-bombs going to change now that you have a new boss?
The number of F-bombs will never fucking change if I have a new boss. You know, I'm always going to be me. One thing I can always promise to the fans is I'm always going to be me. I always tell people if I were to give one advice outside of the cage, it's always be yourself, because now fans are trying to pick up on people's personalities and they don't like fake shit. You know, the Colby Covington fake shit is bullshit. The Henry Cejudo fake shit is bullshit. You know, people that write their own lines and stutter and do all that shit, everybody can tell it's fucking fake. So I'm going to be myself. I owe it to the MMA fans, even though they fucking suck, that they're going to get what they have with me. And I'll always be who I am. You know, the F-bombs is just how I talk on the street. If you met me, if anybody out there is listening to this and has met me, I probably was the exact same way when I met them. So I'm always going to be myself. Obviously, if they censor me and it becomes a matter of not swearing or swearing it and I can't fight, then obviously I'll try to tone it back, which would be a little hard to do. But yeah, I can almost guarantee that I'm always going to be myself. And that's just how I talk. So why would I change it?
Awesome, man. Awesome. And what are your thoughts on your teammate Kayla Harrison going to the UFC? Obviously, she was a star in the PFL for a long time. What are your thoughts on her going to the UFC?
Yeah, if it makes sense for the PFL and it makes sense for Kayla Harrison, it makes sense for the UFC, then it makes sense to me. You know, I try not to concern myself too much with other people and other promotions. Good for her. If that's what her goal is to be in the UFC and be a UFC champion, then that's awesome for her. I have no doubt that she's going to beat the shit out of Holly Holm. I have no doubt that she's going to become the UFC champion. I see that girl training and she's an absolute madman. She's beating up on some of the dudes, which is just crazy. She's awesome. You know, inside and outside the cage, you could see that she's a very, very motivated person. She doesn't put up with shit and she's very driven. So I'm very happy for her. You know, it seems like she's been wanting to do this. In the PFL, that's one company that is fucking awesome. They said that we'll let you go if that's what you want. And they understand good business. You know, PFL is a dream come true organization that you can fight for. I'm very happy that this is how it is in MMA now. You know, for the longest time, it kind of seems like things are ran a little bit differently. And then in comes this big house named PFL, and they've just changed the landscape. You know, they've helped out the fighters. You know, if you interview a lot of the PFL fighters, they're going to tell you that they love the organization. They don't want to go anywhere else. And that's a sign of an awesome boss. That's a sign of an awesome company. You know, when you have a positive outlook amongst your employees, that's a successful company. And that's what PFL brings to the table. I only hear good things about them. And I know it's going to be good things between me and them in the future. You know, they do good business. They're smart. They put on big events. They want to expand. They want to grow. They want to cause interest in the market, and they want to make money. How could you say no to any of that shit? The PFL is on the rise, and it's still going to be the biggest promotion in the world.
And I guess I don't know what your current contract looks like, but was there any consideration going elsewhere, or was it kind of like a no-brainer to stay with the PFL?
I mean, you want to keep an open mind. You know, you never want to be closed-minded and not listen to other ideas and just different thoughts. You know, that's just a part of life. You should never be closed-minded like that. But I want to fight for PFL. I want to fight for Bellator. I have nothing against the other organizations of UFC, Ryzen One, or any of them. But I'm comfortable where I am. You know, I have no hate to other organizations. I got hate to nobody. If somebody over there in the UFC or One or Ryzen is doing their thing, you know, props to them. We're all trying to level up. But I didn't really have too much thought going elsewhere. I want to fight for PFL. I hear nothing but good things. I got a lot of friends and a lot of teammates that fight for the PFL. And I want to give this a shot. You know, if I could fight for one promotion, it would be the PFL. You know, they're the hot ones right now. They're massive. They do good business. They take care of their fighters. They're very exciting. I can't get enough of listening to Don Davis. Anytime that guy talks, I have my ears perked up. Same with Peter Murray. I was listening to him at the press conference and I couldn't get enough of it. So I'm very excited. I'm very motivated to fight for this company. I want to represent them. You know, Kayla Harrison is out. She was pretty much the face of PFL, and they need a new face of the PFL. Who's that? That's going to be the Italian fucking gangster right here. So we'll see how shit goes. And I am very much looking forward to becoming the face of PFL.
Awesome, Danny. I think that's all the questions I had for you, man. It was always a pleasure catching up with you. Anything that you want to say to the fans out there watching you?
Yeah, if you're not a fan of mine, you can go fuck yourself.